Oh, hi, you loves. It's me, Paul, aka. I don't know why I say it like that. AKA the Fudge Man, aka One Box of Fudge. I don't know why I'm waving, but I'm waving at you. If you're watching this video, I'm waving at you. Thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel as I show you how to make homemade fudge taken from my brand new recipe book called One Book of Fudge, which is available to buy on Amazon on Kindle in paperback and hardback. This is just a test copy, so it doesn't look as flimsy as this. And all profits from sales of the recipe book go to local charities and causes, just like all the profits from all of my homemade fudge love, which so far I've donated 101 times to local charities and causes to the tune of over £18,000 so far. I have a TikTok, I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook page. All of them are at One Box of Fudge. And originally I started my TikTok with the hope of getting 2,000 followers and then doing some live videos. But that ain't ever gonna happen, loves. I don't understand how to use it. I've got 80 followers when I've been doing it for months and months and months. So I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna go on good old YouTube and I'm gonna start a playlist and I'm gonna cook through my recipe book, one recipe at a time. So if you like my videos, then please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and I would really appreciate that. So in today's video, we are gonna make Pecan She Better Don't, which is on page 16 of the paperback version of One Book of Fudge. And for this fudge, you need 450 grams of golden caster sugar, 400 millilitres of double cream, 50 grams of unsalted butter, 15 grams of glucose syrup, a pinch of salt, and then you'll also need, for flavouring the fudge at the end, some Canadian maple syrup. I use Lyle's. And you'll also need some pecans, 30 grams of pecans, which we're going to chop finely. So, with all of those ingredients ready, let's start. So the first thing we're adding is our 450 grams of sugar. Obviously, make sure your scales are on and that they're set to 0 before you start pouring your sugar. It's important that you try and be as exact as you can with these ingredients to guarantee the result that I get every time. The closer you follow it, the better. Next, we're going to add 400 millilitres of cream. Normally I buy the ginormous pots of cream. Today I've been forced to use the small pots, which are way more expensive. But there we go. We need it for the fudge video, so that's why we're doing it. So 400 millilitres of double cream. Next, you add your butter. So I always let it sit at room temperature before I add it to the fudge. See, without looking, that was 48 grams. Because I've made, sorry I was going to point the knife at you then. Because I've made so many batches of fudge, honestly, I can slice 50 grams of butter without even, first go pretty much every single time. 15 millilitres of glucose syrup. Now this is what I would call the magic ingredient, and lots of people that make fudge don't use the glucose syrup, and I do not understand why, because if you don't use it, your fudge is not going to be as smooth as it can be, as smooth as I want it to be for you. It's only 15 grams, but that 15 grams is honestly what makes the difference between it being smooth, not smooth. Still tastes lovely, and as you're not a robot, you will make fudge that is a bit grainier, because being a human, there's so many factors when you're making a fudge that play into the consistency of it. Temperature is the main one, and the exact measurement of the ingredients is the other one. I add a sachet of Maldon sea salt, but really that's just a pinch of salt, and you do that to balance the sweetness. Because I make so much, I actually bought 2,000 of these in a big box, and that's why you'll see I've got them on the side ready, because I use them all the time. So I thought, why not, loves? Let's be organised. So that is your core fudge ingredients for a traditional fudge, and now we're going to get cooking. If you've watched any of my videos, then you'll know what I'm about to say now. And what I'm about to say is that the best fudges are made all together now, low and slow. So if you've got a gas cooker like I do, you need it on a low flame. You can make it on a higher flame, on a higher, heat, quicker, but it won't be as nice. I guarantee it, loves. You can try it and let me know, but you might burn it, and that will not be my fault. So we let this all melt together for a second before we start stirring it. So after a couple of minutes, loves, once it gets like this, you know what to do. It's time to start stirring all the ingredients together. A couple of minutes later, once that is all stirred together nicely, it's time to leave your fudge until it gets to 116 degrees. Oh, hiya, love. So we're getting to that crucial point now of where it's got to 115 degrees, and where you need to really start watching very carefully as it shifts up, and you'll see the bubbles start getting closer and tighter, and that dial will start going past 115 very, very quickly. So you have to keep your eye on it, because if you take your eye off it for 1 second, it can burn. You've honestly got to be so careful. The temperature is really, really paramount. So as soon as that gets to 116, loves, you take that off the boil. And there we go, it's gone. So that's coming right off. So once that's off, loves, you set your timer for 5 minutes, and you walk away and you let it cool down. Do not touch it, leave it alone. And while you're waiting for that, loves, you've got to measure out your pecans, and you've got to chop your pecans. So I use 30 grams. Because with trial and error, again, I've just found that 30 grams is just the perfect amount for this fudge, because you want the pecans to be in there, but you don't want to overpower the fudge. And then what I do is I use a knife, get a chopping board out, loves, and I very, very carefully chop the pecans. Now I finally chop the pecans, because I buy the whole ones. You can buy pecans that are already chopped, but they're more expensive, loves. And because I'm always, when I'm doing recipes, my aim is always to have as much profit from the recipe as possible, so I can obviously donate to local charities and causes. It might only be pence, but those pennies, they soon add up, loves. So yeah, buy your pecans whole for a cheaper ingredients cost. And then just finely chop them. I'll show you what it looks like. So that is literally just 30 grams chopped. But you see what I mean by how much that is. Soon adds up, loves. And then what I do is, to keep my pecans fresh, I use a peg, a washing peg, but they're not washing pegs, they're bag pegs, and I fold this down and peg the bag until I'm ready to use it next time. So the 5 minutes are up, and once again the fudge is down to about 80 degrees, which I swear to you, I'm not lying to you, is the perfect temperature for you to make a smooth fudge. So now it's time to add, say, 15 grams of maple syrup. I use Canadian maple syrup when I can. Again, basically it's just a swirly pretty pattern, but if you want to measure 15 grams, that's what it is. Oh my God. The smells are insane. Scrape your pecans into your pot and then get stirring. I'm going to show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like before stirring, loves. I wish you could smell it. Yeah, it looks so good, doesn't it? So yeah, as with all the fudges, you now begin your 6-minute stir-a-thon. And you just do it nice and gently, nice and slowly. Do you know, when I first started making fudge, I didn't use non-stick pans, and I used a whisk, and it would take about 20 plus minutes for the fudge to set. For the fudge to be ready for me to pour. And honestly, it was because the temperature. I would never ever use a whisk, ever in a million years. I very, very quickly realised that the temperature that you heat it to is the most important thing. If you don't get it up to temperature, no amount of stirring is going to make it set. You will get something tasty, but it won't be a fudge. It won't be a fudge as you know it. So yeah, temperature is really, really key. And you don't need a hand whisk. Don't use a hand whisk. Always do it by hand. Honestly, 6 minutes, such a good workout for you. As you can see from the gun show, loves. I don't do a lot of exercise because fudge stirring is what I do, love. So there we go. So I will be back in a few minutes when this little beauty is ready to pour. Now I'm starting to get that twinge in my arm, and normally when I get that twinge it's about 4 minutes. So let's have a look. Yep, it's 4 minutes. I'm gonna trademark that. It's the 4-minute arm twinge, the guns twinge at about 4 minutes. And you notice it all of a sudden starts getting heavy. It really does. That's the only way to describe it. It feels heavy, like you're stirring. With each stir, it gets harder and harder to do. But it just smells so incredible that you just really don't care, loves. So there you go, loves. That 6-minute timer's gone again. Don't forget, before you pour, you need to have your 9-inch. We do love a 9-inch, love, don't we? I'm talking about the trays, love. Make sure your tray's aligned before you pour, because if you pour it and it ain't lined, you're not getting it back out, loves. Now this, again, I can tell in the pour, this has been done to absolute perfection. And I'll show you why. Because the pot's clean. Now finish off with a lovely swirly flourish, as I call them, instead of a flourish. Look at that beauty. And then now you've just got to let it set before you can eat it. It's so difficult with this one because honestly it smells absolutely incredible. But I promise you it will set within 3 to 6 hours. This is going to be a 3-hour one, I can tell from the pour. You need to cover it with, I use these lovely pop-up food covers, but whatever you cover it with, just make sure it doesn't touch the surface, because obviously it's liquid at the moment and it needs to solidify again. But that is one of the best tasting ones as well. That is one of my biggest selling ones. And if you've made it this far, loves, then you've just made your very first batch of Pecan She Better Don't, which is named after my love. The name is inspired by my love of RuPaul, loves. If you've ever seen Drag Race, then you might have picked up that reference and what I've done with that name there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. So I've made 5 fudge videos today, which I wasn't expecting to do, but I've really genuinely enjoyed doing it so much. And I will continue working through the fudge book, one recipe at a time. If you'd like to buy a copy of the fudge book, it's available on Amazon. It's called One Book of Fudge by Paulie's. All profits made from the book, which is about £2 a copy, whether you buy a Kindle paperback or hardback, is donated to local charities in Gosport. And yeah, it helps me continue to make a difference, one box of fudge at a time. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Oh, bye, you loves.